You ever hear someone say Bitcoin is just like Beanie Babies? They've been saying this since its inception, 16 years ago. Obviously, what they're trying to say, what they're trying to imply, it's a fad, it's a bubble, it's something that has no intrinsic value, and therefore its value is going to collapse back down to virtually nothing. And obviously, no one's buying Beanie Babies anymore today, even though in the 1990s, a $5 Beanie Baby might have resold for over $1,000. And today, a phenomenon like this is happening all over again with these things. If you haven't heard of them yet, they're called Labubus. Weird, plushy vinyl toys with demon eyes and bunny ears. And a lot like Beanie Babies, the especially sought after or limited edition ones can sell for 10 to 20 times the original retail price on the secondary market online. Some rare collectibles have sold for hundreds, thousands, or even over $100,000. Meanwhile, people keep saying Bitcoin is just like Beanie Babies, even though the price of Bitcoin also just keeps going up. So is it the case that both Labubus and Bitcoin are just a case of a frenzied public not learning their lesson from the Beanie Baby craze of decades before? Are these two things both fads that will crash back down to zero? And what is the difference between the two of them? Should you buy either one, Bitcoin or Labubus, or stay away from both altogether? People love to compare Bitcoin to collectibles like Beanie Babies or tulips. So today I'm comparing Bitcoin to the latest hot craze of collectibles, which is Labubus. Let's break it down. First, real quick, my name is John from My Favorite Thing About Bitcoin. I've been studying Bitcoin for several years, created this channel with the goal of helping other people better understand and grow their conviction in Bitcoin. If that sounds like something you might be interested in, hit the subscribe button and we'll get into section 1. Why do Labubus even have value in the first place? Before I talk about Bitcoin, we'll be fair to the little furry, weird looking demon creatures. Labubus do have value. The market determines something's value. And right now, people are going crazy over these things. I would hold one up now to show you, but I don't have one. I'll just put a picture on screen. The company behind these things made about $670 million off them in just the first half of 2025. So before you start commenting how they're stupid and worthless, or before we compare them to Bitcoin, let's examine what gives them value in the first place. And pay attention to some of these details because they will be relevant when we come back to talking about why Bitcoin has value. For Labubus, first, it's culture, pop culture. They aren't just toys, they're part of a whole scene, especially in Asia. They're tied to collectible toy culture, fashion drops, sneakerhead culture, where it's not just about what you own, it's what it says about who you are when you own it. So they're aesthetic status symbols. They're a little weird, maybe cute, kind of creepy, but once some of the biggest celebrities in the world started showing them off as the latest hot accessory, that's when people really decided they had to have them. Second reason, emotional value. If we're being honest, some people just think they're fun. They like the designs. They enjoy the thrill of hunting for the rare ones. It's essentially art in a weird little demon bunny kind of way. And all of that is valid. That's how collectibles work. And the third thing, often that gives collectibles additional value, is scarcity. Albeit it's what I personally would call artificial or manufactured scarcity. Again, we're going to come back to that. But each Labubu drop does have a limited supply. There are rare colorways, hidden editions, secret collabs. For the most part, you got to know when the drop is, you got to be fast, which creates FOMO, hype, greed, and resale demand. And lastly, speculation. Some people buy Labubus the same way they flip Jordans or NFTs because they see a rare edition and they're thinking, okay, I know there's demand for these things, so if I can grab it for $150, I might be able to flip it for $600 next week. People do this with all kinds of things, concert tickets, collectibles, baseball cards, you name it. Goods and services are worth what someone else is willing to pay for them. I made an entire video about that, which I'll link right here if you're interested in why that criticism of Bitcoin is stupid and has no merit. People assign economic value to plenty of things that have no intrinsic value based on scarcity, culture, speculation, and emotion. And Labubus check all those boxes. But with a collectible like this, you should be wary of their cultural shelf life. That's the reason the Beanie Baby craze didn't last forever. Quick pause just to say if you're liking the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. That really helps grow the channel. We're trying to spread the mission of Bitcoin. You can zap me sats via the QR code on the screen using your Lightning wallet. And back to the video. Labubus are just the latest in a long line of Tickle Me Elmos, Tamagotchis, and Furbies that came and went, causing people who got swept up in the hype to lose money on something that ended up as nothing more than a memory on the trash heap of pop culture history. Which reminds me a lot of something else. You see, I would say, in many respects, Labubus actually are a lot like crypto. Note, I didn't say Bitcoin, I said crypto. Altcoins, meme coins, shit coins. Think about it. A centralized team creates them. That team controls the supply. They decide when the next drop happens. They pick the colorways, the editions, and the pricing. And their main weapon for generating value is to build hype. They limit the supply. They create FOMO. They lean on influencers. They let insiders get early access. They drip feed the market just enough to keep prices spiky. Does any of this sound familiar? That's exactly how most crypto projects work. Altcoins aren't decentralized money. If I'm being kind to them, I'd say very few have any value beyond collectibles and speculation. They're mostly branded, packaged, digital collectibles issued by teams pumped on Twitter and dumped on retail. With pre-mines, insider allocations, controlled narratives, and roadmaps that change every 6 months. And a lot like Labubus or Beanie Babies, if that centralized team decides to rug, dilute, or abandon the project, you, the holder of the collectible or the token, are screwed. Maybe at that point, a Labubu still looks cute on your shelf, which a rug pulled shitcoin can't even do. Maybe you still have an NFT profile pic that you think looks cool, but after the rug pull, it's a little more like a kick me sign stuck to your back. So yeah, Beanie Babies, crypto tokens, Labubus, NFTs, they're all essentially the same thing, and none of them are Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin, if you weren't aware already, is not a collectible like a Beanie Baby or a Labubu. Bitcoin is money. And it turns out that for something to become money, it has to possess a certain set of specific properties. There's a reason why Labubus can't be money, and there's a reason why Bitcoin can. Money isn't just a shared delusion. It has to have specific properties, and it has to do certain jobs really well. So let's go through them. Number one, we already talked about scarcity. Bitcoin, unlike the artificial manufactured scarcity of Labubus, Bitcoin actually has absolute, finite, provable scarcity. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. There's no centralized team of insiders that can change that. There's no marketing team, no CEO, and no roadmap update that says, oopsie, never mind, we're inflating the supply now. It's baked into the protocol and nobody can change it. Labubus are scarce until they're not. Just like a shitcoin, the company behind them can drop more whenever they want, and you have no idea what the long-term supply looks like because they don't either, because they're just doing scarcity by vibe check. Next is durability. Bitcoin is pure information. As long as the internet exists, Bitcoin exists. It's stored decentralized, distributed across tens of thousands of nodes globally. So the Bitcoin ledger cannot be shut down, destroyed, burned, or broken. Labubus, obviously, your dog could chew it up, game over. Next is portability. Bitcoin can be sent anywhere in the world to anyone in the world in minutes, no customs, no shipping label, just a phone or a computer and an internet connection, and a very small transaction fee. No one can stop you, censor you, or reverse it. Bitcoin is akin to taking physical gold, dematerializing it, and being able to transfer it across the world almost instantaneously to anyone. Divisibility. Obviously, you can't divide a Labubu and recombine a Labubu, but each Bitcoin can be split into 100 million Satoshis, which means you can spend fractions of a penny or billions of dollars worth, and it scales across all levels of value. Fungibility. Each Labubu is different colors, different designs, different prices. You can't swap one Labubu for another and call it even. But in the same way that $1 bill is exchangeable for any other dollar bill, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. One Satoshi is the same as every other Satoshi. Yes, I know there are people who use numbering schemes or on-chain analytics to try to categorize certain Satoshis as different from others. I don't agree that that technically makes them non-fungible amongst each other. I'm not going to go deep into that argument right this second. Maybe I'll do another video about that another day. Verifiability. You can verify the 21 million supply cap and you can verify your own Bitcoin. Math, software, no trust required. Labubus, good luck. Plenty of counterfeits exist. Maybe you want to buy a counterfeit one, but if you want to make sure the one you have is real, better hope you didn't buy it from a scammer. Maybe post a picture on Reddit and see if some expert can tell you whether or not it's fake. And actually, lastly, I'm going to mention something that might sound subtle, but it's actually important. There's a principle called abundant scarcity. A lot of people might say 21 million Bitcoin doesn't sound like enough to go around for the entire global economy to run on, but they're wrong. They're 2.1 million Satoshis, and anyone can buy or acquire them to access the network. There are enough to go around. Unlike Labubus, where if they printed enough for everybody to have one, their value would collapse. So Labubus are clearly collectibles, and Bitcoin is money. One of them was built to store and transfer value across space and time, and the other may look cute on a backpack or a shelf, or may look ugly. You decide. But there is an interesting historical kernel of truth that people hit on when they compare Bitcoin to Labubus or Beanie Babies. Because weirdly enough, throughout history, as commodity monies emerged, they did follow the path of becoming collectibles first before they became money. I just illustrated why Labubus can only ever be collectibles and they can't become money. But Bitcoin, like other forms of money, did start out as a collectible with no value. If you think about ancient humans, many of the things that they used as money, like shiny shells or bead, wampum, gold jewelry, they didn't start out as money. They started out as collectibles and they emerged as money. Just like Bitcoin had no monetary value when it was created in 2009. It started as a collectible. This nerdy magic internet e-cash thing that cypherpunks and forum geeks thought was interesting started out as a collectible, but over time, as more and more people start to desire it, a collectible can begin to emerge as a store of value. You might hold on to it because you know someone else will want it tomorrow and next year and in 10 years. Gold did this, so did silver, so did seashells, beads, stones, and metals across different cultures and different timelines. And Bitcoin is doing the same thing right now. It started out as a collectible, but as the demand for it as a collectible grew, more and more people realized that it could store value across time. People could use it to save value. So more and more of them started to hold it long term. They trusted it to store their purchasing power over time. If you think back to the properties that I mentioned that Bitcoin has, that Labubus don't have, if a commodity good or a digital good has those properties, it has the emergent properties needed to become money over time. People realize that it has the right properties to go from collectible to store of value. And once enough people trust that it holds value, then they're willing to accept it in trade or in exchange for labor. That's when it starts to become a medium of exchange. If I know this thing is still going to be valuable next week, then sure, I will be willing to take it as payment today. That's how money spreads from collectible to store of value to medium of exchange. You don't start by spending something, you start by saving something. This is why a lot of people today criticize Bitcoin, that it doesn't have enough medium of exchange adoption yet, but it's just going through the natural stages that emergent money has always gone through. This is also why a lot of altcoins fail, because they're just trying to be a payment network from day one without proving that they're a store of value worth saving. And they're often not a store of value worth saving because they don't have the properties that I mentioned at the very beginning. So why would I work for something that I don't trust to store its value into the future? And why would I trust it to store its value if it's centrally controlled by some small group of people who can change the supply schedule or the issuance or the monetary policy at a whim? The final step, once something is widely accepted as a medium of exchange, people start pricing other things in it. How much is that horse? It's 2 gold coins. How much is that car? It's 0.1 Bitcoin. That's the unit of account phase, which is the monetary endgame where, like the dollar today, the money is clearly so ubiquitous that people think in terms of it as a unit of account. But again, people like to criticize Bitcoin because nobody prices things in Bitcoin. Unit of account is not a requirement for something to be money at the beginning, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's an emergent part of the process that money goes through and the final stage that it gets to once it fulfills the other stages first. So Bitcoin is following this path: collectible to store of value to medium of exchange to unit of account. It's not skipping the line. It's walking the same road that every emergent form of money has walked in the past. Labubus, Beanie Babies, or tulips, they're all stuck at step 1. They're nothing more than a consumer good or a collectible, and they never will be. So at this point, you might be asking the question about fiat money, government issued money. They didn't emerge the same way I mentioned from collectible to store value to medium of exchange to unit of account over a long period of time. Fiat money skipped the line. It didn't earn its way into becoming money. Governments just come along and declare that it's money. Legal tender, backed by the full faith and credit. They pass laws to force people to accept it or pay taxes in it. It's basically nothing more than turning monopoly money into currency by saying, hey, if you don't accept this or you don't pay taxes in it, you're going to go to jail. Just an imposition of power and control. And once they impose their will, what do they do next? They start printing, diluting, and debasing. They begin the process of robbing everyone holding their fiat currency, slowly and invisibly, through inflation. Inflation is not some act of God. It's not a law of nature. It's a policy choice, and it benefits the people closest to the money printer, which most likely is not you. If you study the history of money, you will realize humans have always been able to figure out on their own what to use as money and what works well as money, because it stores its value and it works as a medium of exchange. We didn't need kings to tell us gold was valuable. Go back to the beginning and listen to the list of properties I told you some commodity good has to have to emerge as money in the free market with no coercion: durable, portable, divisible, fungible, verifiable, and scarce. If something has those properties, it can emerge in the free market competition of monies. That's how gold emerged. We didn't need a king to tell us gold was valuable. We didn't need a central bank to convince us that silver had worth. People used them because they worked. Fiat, by design, flips that script. It starts by forcing medium of exchange usage before proving that it can be a store of value. That's backwards. Why would I trade my time, energy, and labor for something I know is losing value every year? And yet, that's what we're told to do. So by now, you probably can tell Labubus are not money, Beanie Babies are not money, but the dollar isn't either. It's just been wearing a money costume. Labubus are maybe a cute collectible. Altcoins are mostly hype-driven pump and dumps. Fiat is a government-mandated illusion that leaks value every year. But Bitcoin is hard money, not created in a boardroom, not dropped as a marketing stunt, not forced into circulation by law. It emerged naturally. It earned its way to where it is today, with a value of over 120,000 US Fed tokens. Step by step, from collectible curiosity to digital store of value to peer-to-peer, censorship-resistant, digital global money. Just through pure monetary engineering, a protocol that anyone can access anywhere in the world, no one can change, and everyone can verify. So to answer the question from the beginning, Bitcoin is not a collectible, not a Labubu, and not a Beanie Baby. It's not even a tech stock, and it's definitely not just a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a new form of money. Real, neutral, permissionless, and borderless, the hardest form of money ever known, and the best form of money that's ever existed. So of course you can collect toys and Beanie Babies and Labubus if you want to. You can gamble on altcoins if you must. I wouldn't recommend it. But don't confuse any of what those things are with a long-term savings strategy. And definitely don't confuse them with Bitcoin. Because when the hype inevitably fades and the shelves start collecting dust and the musical chairs game of the next hot ticket collectible fades, Bitcoin will still be ticking. Tick-tock, next block, and up and to the right. If this video helped reframe how you think about money and how you understand the difference between Labubus or Beanie Babies and Bitcoin, hit like, send it to the next person who says Bitcoin are just Beanie Babies or a tulip bubble. Watch a video from this playlist to better understand and grow your conviction in Bitcoin. And as always, you never forget, Bitcoin is inevitable.